that though. All right, so I guess it's what, 7:01 on Thursday, May 28th. Call this meeting to order. Rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll grab today. All right, so we did that. Just missing a few people. Bob, I feel like there's somebody sitting down there usually. No, I think we got everybody. Just Bob. And Cindy. All right. All right, then public input. Oh, Bob is here. Hello.
They're cheering for me. You have to go, Bob? Yeah, I just did.
It's like you walked all that way to get here. Good job. Ridiculous. All right, so public input. Noisy crowd over there. So moving on to any reviews or additions to the agenda for tonight? No? All right, moving on. Review and acceptance of the minutes for April 23rd, 2015. Has everybody had a chance to review them? All right, any comments or concerns, questions? No? You said you were gonna give me a hard
Move we
time.
accept the minutes?
I'm sorry?
I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
All right. Okay, on to correspondence. We did have a couple of items. We had the enrollment and finance information from the school, the weekly reports from the town, a town fraud policy that was sent over as well, and then I saw something that was sent a while ago after the last meeting, the library expenses. I believe that covers everything. Do we want to talk about because Cindy sent along the signing form,
I
right?
have 10 of them here.
I guess we could do that under
She told me
the
to-
town business, yep, fraud policy.
She told me to make 10 of them, so I did.
All right. Okay, so that's the correspondence, unless I missed anything? All right. Reports. Town, Frank, you're up.
Going over the expenses, the last expense report that was issued on Friday, there's nothing major that you would think out of the ordinary other than highway, which we've all known about since the winter anyway, so. But other than that, that's really about it in general terms. I went through it and I didn't see anything that really stuck out and was a major issue that I would be concerned about unless there's other questions on it or what have you, so.
Road projects are all completed for this season, all the major road projects?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Jack has completed, Jack Pinciero, road agent, has completed the road product paving, or whatever you want to call it, that we had scheduled through the warrant article as well as through the part of the budget process, that type of thing, with highway
Yep.
block grant money, so everything's all done.
Looks good, thanks.
Anything else? Anything else? Okay. You had the GASB 68?
GASB 68, and I'm giving this to people for information purposes so that you can get a sense of it, because you will see this, the school will, you also see it on the schools as well, but that's
Thank
another
you.
issue. GASB stands for the Government Accounting Standards Board, and they come up with policies and practices that it's necessary for municipalities as well as the state in order to adhere to. So all of your financial reporting is going to be done in terms of GASB. There's two new GASBs that came out, actually, probably, I think it's 2012 they were issued, GASB 67 and GASB 68. For practical purposes, GASB 67 we're not really having to deal with, but you will see an impact of GASB 68. GASB 68 basically says that you will have to report as a municipality your liability to the retirement system on your audit results from the auditors that we have that are hired by the town as well as hired by the school. So what that means is that the state of New Hampshire under GASB 67 is going to calculate a liability, for example, that Litchfield would owe. and that is going to be a net liability, so it's going to be a big number. I don't know what the number is going to be. That's something I'm working on in another life that I won't get into, but that's another issue. The accrued liability for the state in general terms is $4.1 billion, so you can distribute that amongst the municipalities and then go from there and figure out how that's going to hit. GASB 67 causes the state to say, how much does Litchfield owe? And then what'll happen is Litchfield and the GASB 68 will have to be required to put that into the financial spreadsheets that the auditors do. So you're gonna see it there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is just to give you a fair warning that the audit that's gonna be done and everything else that we'll see is gonna have that number on it. So it's gonna look like a large number and a large problem. You got to keep in mind that that's a net liability. It is not something that has to be paid off tomorrow. It's something that would be paid off over the course of somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or so years. So just to give you a heads up on that.
Frank, what's the reason for that? It's public information anyways.
Because none of that in the past had shown up on any of the audited results. And it's not because our auditors didn't know it, it's because the retirement system wasn't issuing it. So there was no way that that was being rolled into the town's audited statements. Now it is going to be, and you're going to see that, and some citizens, of course, will probably see that and be very frightened by it. But I just wanted to make sure that people understood and give you time to think about it, so when you see it, you won't.
Don't we pay as we go? We pay our,
The way the retirement system works today is that you get charged the amount of money on a per-hour basis for an employee, Group 1 and Group 2. That will go towards their retirement. And then on top of that, you also get charged a surcharge, which is to pay off the accrued liability of the whole system. So you're actually paying a little bit at a time today towards that liability. According to the information I am aware of, the liability for the state will be paid up in total at 2039.
Guess I won't have to worry about that.
I'm not going to worry about it myself, Bill, so I'll be
it's outside my scope.
there with you, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
But where are we paying for that currently?
Through your rates.
You do,
The surcharge?
on the retirement
Right.
dedication. So if you look at your sheet, I think there's a section on the personal administration.
So that's why the
retirement.
pension number is so high, is because it's paying down some of the debt.
Because what happens is they generate a number on the accrued liability, I forget whether it's every 1 year or every 2 years, and then they adjust the rates accordingly. So what happens is if you have several bad years of stock market performance, the accrued liability goes up and the rates will go up. If we had really bang-up years, the rates may come down some.
So back to how much we have to pay for the long run?
So I don't know the answer to that. I can't tell you what the answer is, because I've
Well, there's nothing we can do here.
on research that I'm currently
Anything's at
doing
the higher level.
for another life, what I'm doing is trying to find out if the state can give individual municipalities a number as to what their liability is. I'm told by the New Hampshire retirement system that they cannot do that.
But wouldn't be easy.
So the number that they're going to give you is at best a guess as to what the liability is. And how they're going to come up with it, I have no idea. I have a meeting that I'm going to be holding with a couple state representatives myself to go over that with the retirement system sometime in June. I'm hoping to figure out what's going on. So that's what GASB 68's about. You'll see it on you'll see the auditor's report when it comes out, that it will list some number, how big, how small, I got no idea. But it'll list some number, and that's the number that will have been given to us by the state. I'm guessing we'll have that number ahead of time, but I don't know when it's gonna come out. But this will give you a little bit of information on it.
But it really has no impact directly on our budgeting, or it's just another line item on the report, right? We're already paying it, we have no choice.
You're already paying it as part of your employment costs
Yeah.
to the retirement system, so that'll continue, and
Yeah.
it'll just, that may go up or down, but we don't control that.
Alrighty. And then, any questions or anything on that? All right. The town of Litchfield fraud policy?
Well, I'm not sure whether she's looking for me to explain this or what, because
It's
All I
your
can
town
tell-
of Litchfield policies.
all I
What
can,
it is.
it is what it is. It's a policy that is designed to ask employees to observe, and if they detect fraud, then the idea of it is to try and ask that employee to report that. If they see something that is suspicious or what have you going on, then please report it. And this is a result of the incident that occurred in 2008, where we had money stolen from the town. We recouped the money, but on the other side of the coin, we needed to do something to put in place a preventative action to stop this, and there's several policies. The only one that applies to most town organizations is the fraud policy. And what it basically requires is that if you see and observe fraud, report it. It tells you how to report fraud. It tells you what is fraud and everything else. And it's basically designed to make it so that people, if they see something fishy going on with petty cash, if they see something funky going on with checks or what have you coming into the town at the incinerator or anywhere, that type of thing, let people know. And hopefully we don't get gigged again, if you want to call it that. It is reviewed by the auditors, so the auditors do look at policies to see if we have policies to prevent that, and this is one of them that they do look at.
Cindy had mentioned an email
Last
to make
page.
a number of copies and to have everybody sign.
Fine.
Is that right, or?
Yeah, I thought she
Well, that's the
wanted
way it works.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what Cindy said to
to
other
have
people,
sign
but
it, and I think you were gonna collect them,
I'll
right?
collect them, yeah, so she'll come pick them up. Do I need to sign it as well?
No.
No.
not as a school employee.
Just
I
making
would
sure.
think.
No, it's not elected officials.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Well, it's not just elected officials, we have hired employees doing it as well.
I read that already, yes.
And then Cindy signs them underneath as the chairperson?
And Cindy will sign it.
Okay. Yeah. You can keep the rest of it for reference, you
Yep.
know how you're supposed to handle it.
Just need this on the page.
I'm sure you're very ethical, so you won't have any problems. Only those who are gonna have a problem are gonna have a problem anyway, right? All right, so everybody sign, well, okay.
Frank, you said this came out really short, I understand.
He's got a long name, you know. He's got-
But have you been signing this policy all along since then, or is this new for the town?
No, it's been all along. The policy used to be every year. That was changed about 3 years ago to make it every 3 years. And the reason that was, it just didn't make sense to do it every year. So every 3 years we do it, so that's probably why people haven't seen it in a while.
Okay.
Cindy asked me about that in an email, and that's
I've
what I
already seen it.
explained to her.
I don't think I've ever signed it.
They trust you. Yeah. They trust you, that's why. I say. All right, so is everybody signed? We're all kosher now? All right. Now, the review of expenditures? Any
Did that
questions?
already.
I'm sorry, what?
But he did that already.
Okay,
Well,
well.
I kind of did it as
next-
part of general update.
All right,
whatever you want
I'm
to
just
call
going
it.
down the list. All right, so I think, anything else for the town? We're all good? On to the school. What?
I just have a few things. One, you have
What'd I
the
do?
enrollment report that was sent out. Right now, we're at 1,430, so we're down 1 from the previous month. As far as the business report, if you had a chance to look at it, but just on the cover page, total appropriation so far is $19,956,828. Available of that is $683,282 at 3.4%. But of that, 10,570 is self-funded and 382,312 is special services that would be going back. So available balance at this point is 290,400, or 1.5% of our budget. Less anticipated expenditures as of right now are at 162 $1,284 left at 0.8%. So a little less than 1% of the budget, as of right now, would be going back, along with the special services.
I'm sorry, what was that special services number again?
382,312.
Thank you.
Self-funded is 10,570.
So those two also go back
Those
then?
two would also go back.
Just a couple of comments. This is a default budget, right?
Mhm.
And we're still coming up with a significant fund balance, including the sped. That's good. When I looked at the sped, there's really a couple of key accounts which you always look at. We look at the tuition, and we look at handicap transportation, and we always look at that and see what's requested. And the committee itself generally makes a reduction. My suspicion is the default went with the original numbers. I didn't go check it, but I suspect it went with the
I
original
suspect it does,
proposal. Okay, so when I look at the fact that you're basically overfunded there, it doesn't surprise me. We would expect to see it. The other one that surprised me a little bit was the paras, because I thought we had a pretty good handle on the paras, but they were overfunded by $54,000, which that's a good hunk of change. And the other one, professional services, which was over by $70,000. That's one that we always discuss, and sometimes we do something, sometimes we don't. So when we look at the budget this fall, those would be areas that I personally would be looking at, because it's typically where the sped
To
gets
be honest, I've
overfunded.
already had some conversation with Frank as far as for next year, and he's already having conversations with Devin as far as trying to tighten up those numbers.
Yeah.
I never talked that.
Because if you think back to the discussion we had at the deliberative session about adding money in the budget, and we made the argument, there's always a fund balance, always a fund balance, and here's a default budget, and we're looking at a $600,000 fund balance already, you know.
No, you're really not looking at that much, I mean, because you're not touching special services. I mean, so, yeah, it's a fund balance, but it's monies we're not touching.
And I understand
The
that.
agreement is we're not
The-
touching, right.
I guess my point on that, though, Brian, is that when you did the default budget, if you tightened up in the sped,
Yep.
you would have had that money in this other piece
Mhm.
underspent. So I understand what you're saying, I agree with you, but, so that's my only pitch there. A couple of questions on the anticipated expenditures. You are planning on advanced purchasing stuff from next year's budget, I guess,
Correct.
right? Always a good move to do if you got a problem. The tech shop, that I think, that was a new item,
Correct.
based upon what happened the last couple weeks, yeah. Oil tank, was that new?
Now, it is new. It is mandated by the state as far as to have, I don't know if it's a second tank, just in case of an overspill, and
Uh-huh.
so it's something that's mandated and there's a deadline on
And
it.
we didn't know about it when we put the budget
Is
together,
it-
apparently.
It may be a double wall tank.
Yeah. Well,
I
there's a
suspect
special
it, but
items.
Says
my
containment.
question is, how come we didn't know about this
The state's requiring double wall tanks.
when the budget was put together? I mean, that's just an open question.
And the question we had last evening, and my understanding is they've been notifying us.
Yeah.
Notifying that it has to be done, and it wasn't taken care of.
Yeah.
We didn't put
Whoever
it-
was getting the.
And we didn't put it in the budget, so this would have been
It would have been.
a huge hit if you hadn't had some unanticipated
Right.
Yeah.
money left.
Yeah.
So
And-
that cost is, I'm sorry, removing the one we have and putting a new one in?
Now, my understanding is adding another one. Is that correct? Frank, do you know?
My understanding was that some tanks are single wall, so if you puncture them, they
Yeah.
empty.
Or rust through.
Right, my understanding now is that the state is requiring that single wall tanks get replaced with double wall tanks. So there's an extra margin of safety there.
Okay.
Okay,
And then they
spillage.
either pull the single wall out or fill it with sand or do something like that. yeah.
Okay.
The LCD projection speakers, 31,000, is that new?
It is new, yes. There are many classrooms that don't have a smart board, and this is actually an alternative to a smart board, that they're looking as far as with technology coming in, the one-on-one technology. It's,
And we didn't
something-
put that that wasn't in the proposed budget for next year? Okay. That's all I had. Yeah.
The other thing I have some good news. Excuse me, we have a new IT director who is with us right now, part-time. He's gonna be working a few days. He has another position right now, so he's coming in for approximately 15 days between now and July 1st. His name is Jay Pelletier. And his first day, full-time, will be July 1st. And as far as the new SIS system, we'll be going ahead with that. And hopefully everything goes well. They have a drop-dead date in case it doesn't quite work, is of August 1st. So we have to allow till August 1st, and hopefully they get rolling. That's about all I have.
Look at someone else. Don't look at me.
So I do have a question for you, and I suppose I'll ask because you brought up as far as special services and the abundance of money that's there right now. And as you know, so I've been thinking about this, because you know that it can change in a second. I mean, someone comes in, so aren't we better off to over budget in that, knowing the monies are coming back, rather than budget really tight, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you need monies and you have to take away from regular education?
Two problems. One, it depends on what it does to the budget you're proposing to be passed, and whether that can create a handicap in getting your budget passed. But secondly, you've got $100,000 at least in reserve fund as a cushion. If you were to get that come in, you've got a reserve fund sitting there, you can use it. So you've got insurance against it.
Well, you have a little bit of insurance, but I mean,
Isn't there also,
one student could cost that $380,000.
but isn't there also an option for a special meeting if you
Yeah.
find yourself in trouble?
Brian, I've seen them for 30 years. I've yet to see that $300,000. I've seen a $100,000 student come in. Never seen a $300,000 one come in. But, you know,
What happens
again,
when you get 3 of those students?
Pardon?
What happens when you get 3 of those students?
Again, I've never seen it happen. Okay? And number one, you're sitting there with a reserve fund that you can use. Number two, go back and see what the fund balance has been every year after year after year, including the sped and excluding the sped, and there's money there, so.
And I can tell you, as a dad of a special needs child, that's something that's super important, and to have that cushion.
Yeah.
That's not something you want to have a special meeting about.
Yeah.
Something that obviously
You don't
can't
even-
be
yeah.
in. And I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
as we look forward,
Yeah.
having that cushion, having your insurance policy is one thing, but having that cushion in there is ultimately super important. And working with the teachers and seeing that, knowing that that's there, I
You
think
know,
it's important.
I'll tell you, my philosophy has always been, you budget what you need. And if you come in and tell me you need $500,000 for tuition, and I look at it and say, I don't believe that you need $500,000 for tuition because you never do, then I'm not gonna budget $500,000. I don't think you need it. You know, that's my philosophy, you know, that's a single member of the committee. Okay? And the same thing is with handicap transportation. You look at it, you can look at it year after year after year, and you'll see it come the fall. It is, every year, it is overfunded. And the budget committee typically has cut $50,000 out of it, $60,000 out of it, and it still comes in fine, so.
And also, with hypothetical about what if 3 students come in? Once you get into that, well, then there's also the hypothetical, what if 3 students move out,
Which happens too.
which happens?
True, but with those same special needs.
Or with more or less. So the point is, there's no right answer when you start with the hypothetical.
True, I'm sorry.
Because when you say, you know, you have a special needs child, and what if another one came in, or we have to cushion, same thing if one if moves out. So I think Bill's point is, and Bill's been here for a long time, with many years, and so I know he knows that issue. So you go by what history and how it's working out, and year after year after year, we always see the same thing, no matter what happens. Is usually, or always, not even usually, it's always enough money, and I can't remember the last time we had to go into the cushion. we
Never
had.
did, never.
Never. So I guess that's, so we, you know, well, I mean, obviously, we're gonna have the conversation again in a few months, but it's an in-depth conversation. We try not to pinpoint it to one specific student or a family member or something, because if you think, you could think of bigger picture, because also it's the taxpayers, because when I first started here a few years ago too, I think I was a little, you know, I think
I think I
I was talking about the cushion myself, saying,
Yeah, I tackled you once or
yeah,
twice.
because my logic was, well, we're just gonna give it back. But I was wrong, because you're taxing, you're taking the money from everybody in the town for that little extra. Now, if the voters voted, that's fine, but I'm trying to think in the best interest of all. I don't think it's right to take the money if you really don't need it or can't prove you need it, and then give it back. And what Bill said too, it might skew or have the proposed budget fail if it's too high. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, and we'll be talking about it soon, real soon, I'm guessing.
Well, thinking too, there is a mechanism, if somebody's uncomfortable with the cushion, there's no reason to not go to warrant and ask the voters to increase that cushion.
Absolutely.
And then you
right.
could have a larger one. I have a problem building in cushion into the line items. If there's a dedicated account for that specific purpose, that's one thing. So I think
Right,
there's
the
a
school-
mechanism in place.
The school board could conceivably every year ask for a warrant to add another 50,000 to that cushion till you get it up to 300, 400, 500, that whatever you want. I mean, until the voters say, no, we think you have enough cushion, you know. Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Good.
Oh, actually, I did have one other thing. Right now, it's kind of like in the final stages from that storm from the 18th and 19th of January, that there's a possibility that FEMA will be paying for it, or reimbursing us for our costs involved. It's not definite yet, it's close to it, but it's a possibility we're gonna be receiving another $27,000 back.
What were the costs that we incurred, was it?
27,000.
No, but I'm sorry, what happened? I mean, it was a big storm.
All the snow removal off the roofs.
Oh,
parking
okay,
lots,
okay,
all that work, backhoes.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, Frank's report indicated that he thought there might be more revenues coming in than had been
Right,
anticipated. Any idea where that?
no.
No.
Anything else, anybody? All right, so we move on to member input.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry.
one more.
Okay, go ahead.
The report had bus occupancy at Campbell High School. What generated that?
I asked Frank if he can get some numbers. I mean, we're talking about eliminating one bus, and we talked about high school, what can we do, and we talked about different possibilities of eliminating buses from the high schools, having them start later, having them start earlier. It's a little difficult, though. The number's a little misleading if you look at them right now. I mean, this time of year, as you well know, everyone's
I'm gonna
doing
go on,
something,
yeah.
from sports to graduation, so, I mean, it's quite apparent, though, there's one bus there. number
Looks that
7
way,
there.
yeah. 0 and
Yeah.
2, something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
But he also has numbers as far as people being dropped off, people walking, so just a good snapshot.
You gonna do it the other two schools too, or just Campbell High School?
Well, the bus companies do it for the other two, they do it for all the schools, but
Yeah.
we're just looking for some numbers a little quicker from the high school, so we just asked them if they could gain those numbers. The other thing that, with that we'll try to do next year, get to the bus company a little quicker, is expected ridership and where they're coming from, so they can formulate the routes a little quicker and give us a better idea as far as what our
Yeah.
needs are for the buses.
So were they able to, did we finally finalize the 9 buses, or did they?
Not yet, the bus companies will be working on the routes. It's just difficult with the start times of all the schools, and they just piggyback on top of each other, just how we're gonna coordinate it.
All right. Any other things? So then we move on to member input and old business.
Are we meeting next month?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was June, not July, right? June, not July.
Okay. Do you have that date handy?
Yeah, 25th.
June
Oh, it's
25th.
on here?
It's on the bottom of the
On the
agenda.
agenda.
Oh.
Cindy's got it all covered.
You get that nice calendar with all of them highlighted, I print it out, put it in my office.
All right. Anything else? Anybody? All right, so then we go on to public input again. Nobody's come in. Nothing over there. So
Motion to adjourn.
there you go.
Second that.
All right, all those in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
I move